We're here at the Ashland Half Marathon, the first annual, we hope.
We sort of peaked the other day online at just under 700, but we're expecting 80 to 100 more registrations today.
Designed a course that would start at this historic place in running, not just for Ashland, but for the sport of running in there.
Running the 5K, and Heather's running the full half marathon. And there's Bill Rogers being introduced, one of the most famous runners of all times.
But of course, we're here at the starting line of the Boston Marathon, the original start line in 1897.
And there are. We're here at the Ashland Half Marathon, the first annual, we hope, right here on Pleasant Street where the marathon began. And with us this morning is Jack Ledoux. And Jack, I understand that you painted the starting line for us.
Yeah, I was a little out of season. I'm normally up in Hopkinton in April.
And the graphics on the line, where did those come from?
They had somebody come up with about a dozen or so graphics, and then the folks that organized at with the Redevelopment Authority picked the one that's there. Crescent is a symbol of a half marathon. That's
in red. And I like what you wrote, the words, the way you made you incorporated the word start into the motto of the Ashland Marathon Park, right, which is, it all started here. And you'll see the word start is bold and large. Great job, Jack. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm here with Steve Greenberg, the head of the Ashland Redevelopment Authority and the sponsor behind this tremendous event today. Steve, I've got to congratulate you. Folks did a heck of a job.
Well, Peter, thanks very much. I think without the community, without the race director, some of the local business people, other sponsors, it's too many to name, but the whole thing has really come together. We're very, very excited about it.
That's good, and you've got good marathon weather too.
Well,
it's not too hot. I'm not sure about the breeze, but the weather's good, no rain, and it's not too hot.
Well, we hope the wind's behind the runners, and Bill Rogers is here. He's going to run the race with the folks, and Bobby Gibb, who is the first woman to win the Boston Marathon, to run the Boston Marathon. We're expecting her any minute to do the start for us. So, you know, these are the things that help bring the people out, and I think it's good for Ashland.
So how many entries do you have today? You heard some about 700 or 800?
Well, you know, I've been telling everyone that I've been watching the registrations like I used to watch my stocks. I don't watch my stocks anymore. But we sort of peaked the other day online at just under 700, but we're expecting 80 to 100 more registrations today.
Bob Thacker, along with J.J. Larner, one of the organizers of the first annual Ashland Half Marathon, right here where it all began on Pleasant Street. 1897. And JJ, we got an interesting route that's taking us all through the town.
Yes, we designed a course that would start at this historic place in running, not just for Ashland, but for the sport of running in the whole country, which is right here at Marathon Park. And it is a granite, if you've ever driven by here, and if you ever noticed this granite pole back here, it says B25 on it. That's been there since 1897, and that's the start of the Boston Marathon. And it was the start here for 27 years, I think.
That's across from Marathon Park?
Yes, right across from the park. When you drive here in future days, you'll see the paint that Jack Ledoux did, that an Ashland resident and friend of the race who does the Boston Marathon start. And you'll see that, and you take a look at left, and that's the actual start, right along the railroad tracks. And what we wanted to do is incorporate the current Boston course, because people that aren't familiar with Ashland, what they know about Ashland is the Boston Marathon, and they're familiar with running through there in April every year. But mostly we want to incorporate a course that would go all through the town, and so the whole town could be a part of it. It might be coming right down your street if you live on Winter Street or Corderville or Chestnut or any of those streets. So it's on the website if you want to check it out, and it's a roller coaster. Ashland's a little hilly, which some of the runners aren't as happy about as others, but it's challenging, and it's a beautiful course because it's such a nice town, and it goes by the state park. It goes on the current Boston course, and incorporates almost the entirety of the town.
Bob Thacker here with Steve Flynn, one of the organizers and one of the men that really started this half marathon. I hope it's an annual event. Steve, you feel the same way?
We hope so. We hope there's going to be growth every year. I mean, if industry projections hold, we'll grow in every year. Maybe, double next year. Who knows? And when the BAA established the marathon, they sent a guy out on a bicycle, and he had a kind of a primitive counter, and he just got here. It was 40 kilometers from their finish line, and this is where they decided to start the race, where Metcalf's Mill was. And it started here for the first year. Then they recalculated it, and they moved it around the neighborhood back to the bridge, and it moved around several times. But then when it moved to Hopkinton, because in 1908 they had the Olympics in London, and a member of the royal family was sick and couldn't attend, so they decided to bring the marathon finish to Buckingham Palace. So to do that, they added the extra mile.
To make it 26 instead of 25.
Yes, exactly. That's how it happened. And the DAA fought that for 16 years. They said, we're going to have this distance, that's going to be it. But then finally in 1924, they said, we're not going to certify the race unless you bring it to the other distance.
And
that's why it moved to Hopkinton.
And that to get that extra mile.
Yeah, that's exactly what it did.
And they finished in Copley Square, both races. It was just a different distance.
It's just a different starting point. Yes, exactly.
Running the 5K, and Heather's running the full half marathon. What got you interested in this race?
I think it's just a great way to bring Ashland together, and it's also fun to run. It's a good time of year to do it, and this looks like a great event, so we're excited to be here.
Heather, you're from Ashland, of course.
Yep.
And do you run on a daily basis?
I don't know about daily, but I do my best.
You're not worried about finishing?
Hopefully not. I am a little worried now that I'm here, but it's okay.
You're not worried about winning either?
No, I'm not worried about winning.
Heather Jack and Elizabeth Jack at the starting line of the first Ashland Half Marathon.
Allowing women to run, but they finally did, and now, of course, women run very well in the races, we all know.
There's Bill Rogers right there. He looks great. He's in shape. He's got that runner's body like you and I have.
Right, he does, and about 150 pounds, and I wish I was something like that, too, this day and age.
And Bill, a four-time winner of the Boston Marathon and a four-time winner of the New York Marathon, also ran in the Olympics twice.
Well, he was quite a runner. I always enjoyed reading about him, and I'm glad to see that. Well, have him here in Ashland today, supporting this effort by the Redevelopment Authority to sponsor this race.
And now we're going to have the Star Spangled Banner, a recorded version. No, with a live version. It's a girl from Ashland. Hi, Pete. I didn't get her name.
It's Alexis Levine. I interviewed her earlier. She's a junior at Ashland High School. And she did a great job.
A true icon. 4-time Boston Marathon winner. 4-time New York City Marathon winner. The only winner of the Triple Crown of distance running marathoning, Boston, New York, and Fukuoka, Japan. He is the greatest American distance runner of all time. He is a marathon living legend. We have him here today, Boston Billy, Mr. Bill Rogers.
Levine singing the national anthem, and this Bill Rogers being introduced. One of the most famous runners of all times, a famous marathoner. He's marking out the starting line. The runners are massed. They're backed up. There's over 700 today. They're backed up all the way to Danny Jajari's Burnham's Manor, all the way back to the bridge. In those days, the bridge that was known as the Fisher Street Bridge back in the marathon days. Now they changed that Fisher Street to Corderville Road many years ago.
This is going to be really exciting. I'm looking for a great race today. And it's going to go cover much everywhere in Ashland. They've got a really good route, hilly route too.
Yeah, it's a very interesting route. It takes you all through the town.
It really does. And it's going to really test their making sure they're in shape going up some of these hills that they have. But that's what you like in a marathon. You don't want a flat course. You want something that's going to be challenging for the runners.
Yeah, it's almost a requirement for a legitimate race. And they're off. Fast start. 700 plus runners, men and women. Also a 5K and also a 5K walk. A run and a walk. Charlene Carabello, Laura Ingalls, Sheila Ingalls. I'm seeing a lot of Ashland people in this race.
There are. I know a lot of folks from Ashland are running. It's amazing to watch some of the younger children who are around anywhere between 7 and 10 or 12 years old running. I don't know if they're going to go the full 13 miles, but I think they'll be doing a 5K, and it's a lot of fun to them.
There she is. There she is. Sheila Ingalls, famous runner.
And there's a little baby in it too. And a couple of walkers, and they're on their way. It's really nice. We wish them luck now. We'll see him come back here in about an hour.
I see Bob Tarosian on a bicycle here. I can't understand this. This is a road race. The legendary Bob Tarosian is going to follow the runners on his bike as they go down Pleasant Street, heading for Maine, left on Homer, left on 135, up East Union Street, past the high school, down Cedar to Elliott, around the reservoir, ending up back on 135, and ending up coming down Corderville Road, back to the starting line for the finish. 13 miles is the race, a half marathon. We have Brennan Marlowe with his camera out on Main Street with the shots from downtown Ashland. And Pete, I guess the fire department and police department had some work to do today.
They really do. Any race of this nature, you need a lot of public safety involvement. The police obviously want to leading the runners, and secondly, more importantly, they're controlling the traffic, so the runners won't be impeded by any cars or anything like that on the road. And the fire department has 2 teams of 2 firefighters each on the route, and they'll be, as the runners pass, they'll leapfrog to some of the other areas. So there'll be basically every 3 or 4 miles, there'll be a couple of firefighters and paramedics there in case any runner has an ill turn or needs any kind of assistance like that. Usually during the regular marathon, they're stationary along the route, but with something like this, we're able just to jump around, and which will be provide good coverage. And I know the police will be doing pretty much the same thing.
Like almost everything in Ashland, the whole town gets involved.
They really are. It's a great town, for community involvement here. I've seen, a lot of the local elected officials here, a lot of just residents, plain old people who just come out to volunteer, to serve in different committees, and to make this such the success it's going to be today.
You always see people like Bill Gath, directing traffic and things like that, and they're all out in force today, even with their Ashland Day Committee sweatshirts and T-shirts and everything, and the same people are always helping in Ashland.
That's true. You've got a strong cadre in the town that are ready to help when called upon, and they enjoy volunteering. I myself, and I know you are, I'm volunteering a couple towns, communities, a couple committees in town, the Ashland Education Foundation, for example. And I know you're involved with the cable, and it's really it's nice. It's good to be involved in the community.
Behind us here, we have the finish line and the official clock. You see the pads on the street. Those are what give the runners their official times when they hit those pads. And the runners, the ones running the half marathon, will be coming down Corderville Road in this direction, and the 5K runners will be coming down Pleasant Street. So there could be a collision, but I guess they're planning on the 5K ending earlier.
I think they are, and I'm hopeful that does happen. In fact, I've run a couple of 5Ks in the past, and I think even my time, I was able to finish before these guys come through. But it could be entertaining.
You remember the first one, don't you?
Hopefully not more. Yeah. But it's really, like we said earlier, it's a challenging course for those running the half marathon. And I think, some people might think you might see a time somewhere around 105 to 110 hours, but I think it's going to be close to about an hour and a quarter, maybe a little more.
That sounds reasonable. They usually finish a marathon, the winners of the marathon, usually 2 hours and a couple of minutes. So you figure today, without many world-class runners, just Bill Rogers, probably the only world-class running. I think an hour 15 is a very good.
Probably so, and then it'll just kind of go from there. But I think probably within say an hour and 45 minutes, everyone's going to be finished. They'll be at the VFW, enjoying their lunch, and eating some calories to make up for the calories they left behind on the race course.
Great celebration at the VFW, also a silent auction at the VFW, many related events. Bill Rogers out here yesterday for an event in connection to publicize this race and to sign a book or two and give out a few autographs. So very exciting to have Bill Rogers in Ashland. He's from Connecticut, but he's lived in Sherburne for many, many years, and of course he became famous by winning the Boston Marathon 4 times. So it's great to have him in Ashland.
That's true. Running the Boston Marathons, even though he's running the Ox around the local area, that just claimed to fame winning the Boston once. And not to do an advertising for him, but I have been to the Bill Rogers Running Center in Boston. I buy a particular kind of shoe there periodically, and they sell it, and I go in and get good service. And,
Hi, Stanley!
He's also in the National Track and Field Hall of Fame, which is in Indianapolis for some reason. I don't know why. But again, fabulous to have him really put his stamp on this very first Ashland Half Marathon.
That's true, and having run track in high school and done some races after high school, and was on the track club, etc. I've always, even in the Olympics, track and field are always my favorite, the events I like to watch. And just thinking back over the years, I can think of some runners, Marty LaForey, Jim Ryan, Olin Cassell, Bob Hayes, who even played football with the Cowboys, Bill Rogers. These are really good runners. Even this year, in this past Olympics, watching the Americans run, and I was really pleased with some of their results that they won, the men and women both. Yeah, I remember Wilma Rudolph, of course, when we were young.
Wilma Rudolph, yeah. And Althea Gibson.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, she was a tremendous athlete too. Yep.
People forget, in the 20s and 30s, pro football was nothing, if it even existed at all. There was pro baseball, but there was no pro basketball, and there was very little, if any, pro football. And track and field was a huge spectator sport.
Exactly. You think back to, I can remember Jesse Owens, and one really runner probably from the 50s, Wes Santee. Of course, the Australians had a lot of famous runners too. Remember Roger Bannister? He was the first person to do the 4-minute mile, and it just brings back a lot of nice memories. some of the older guys.
Ashland High has had a lot of great runners over the years, and in Bill Cunis's era, when he was a track and field coach, cross-country coach for Ashland High, we had some great teams and great track and field teams in the late 60s and early 70s. Not so much lately, but a lot of great individual performances still, not as many good teams.
No, I know that. It's too bad, but Ashland, they did a couple of years, had a real good runner. I can't remember their name, but I think they were a sprinter, something like that. But it's interesting when we think back to the famous athletes of the past in any sport. Today, when you listen to the media with this ESPN, and today are the greatest athletes ever. But you got to think back to the past.
Ashland had a great runner that I remember. Kyle Rudolph was his name. He was a great champion for Ashland High. And this year's team has Kylie Mascaro. She's a great champion on the girls' team. And we got the first 5K coming in.
Yeah.
Old number 1127. And there it is. 18:49 was his time. He's the winner by a mile. Here comes a couple more.
And these guys have a really good time.
The K stands for kilometer.
Yep, kilometers, right. Yep.
Two more. It's a race for second. He's got it. 19:24 and 19:25 is their times. The second and third place finisher. 19:37, we'll call it. Here's the first woman. She's going to finish 6th overall, and her time is 19:47.
It's interesting. They have the little computer chips now in their shoes or whatever, so they kind of make sure there's no Rosie Ruiz running in the race. Remember Rosie in her day in a marathon?
Jumping in
and taking a bus or a cab. I just want to congratulate some of the youngsters who are in the 5K. What's your first name?
Jack.
Jack?
Kaylee.
Jack and Kaylee. Well, I'm going to tell you, you guys ran a heck of a race. You were right up near the top, and you beat a lot of adults, too. And how'd you guys train for this?
No.
You just feel like running, huh?
We play a lot of sports.
You play a lot of sports.
We play soccer and we ski a lot. So.
What about you, Jack?
Soccer, baseball, lacrosse, and skiing.
Oh yeah? Well, that's really good. Well, you guys were in what, by 2nd and 3rd grade, 4th grade?
Seventh.
That's really nice. Well, look, I want to congratulate the both of you. I think you did a heck of a job today.
Thank you.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yep. Good. Thanks a lot. Good luck. Okay, I'm here with Steve Mitchell, Chairman of the Board of Selectmen in Ashland. And Steve, I understand you wanted to talk to us about the Possible Museum?
Well, I know that the Ashland Redevelopment Authority, who are the sponsors of this race, and let me interject first, what a tremendous, terrific event this has been right from the start. The ARA has done a terrific job, and we're just one of the exciting things that are taking place in Ashland. But my understanding is that the part of their long-term process is to expand Marathon Park, as well as to create a museum, a marathon museum at the start, the original start, 1897 start of the marathon. So, and this is as great a seed as we could ask for.
It is. It's been a great day today, just watching this 5K. And there's I know that Hopkins has also talked about a museum. I can't think of the gentleman's name in Hopkinton, but I know he first started discussing it about 4 or 5 years ago. And I think having a museum would be a tremendous thing. I mean, the whole area, the Boston Marathon, is probably the most famous marathon in the world. And I think it really would be great to have a museum. And how'd you guys do? Do you remember your time at all?
I got 30 minutes. I got 4. I don't think I know my time.
How old are you?
7.
7? You went. Oh my God. And how old are you?
I'm 9.
9?
10.
10. Well, that's really something, And you guys beat a lot of adults too, What'd you think about that? Yeah. You ran faster than the old people.
It was good.
Yeah. Did you train it all for the race?
No. I train because I run.
Oh, you run?
I just stretch. And my mom also runs all the time.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's really good then. I used to run when I was young. I used to run some races sometimes. and it was always I like track and field very much. Maybe when you guys were in high school, you'll be on the track team.
Here comes the lead vehicle.
Hey everyone, I'm Brennan Marlowe at the VFW at the Ashland Half Marathon. I'm with Digesa Guma. How you doing?
He said I'm good.
Good? Okay, all right. So I just want to ask you a few questions. How did you feel about the marathon?
He says it's very good. It's a nice course, very nice course.
So where are you from?
He says from Ethiopia.
Ethiopia. Wow, wow.
Yeah.
So is it a different feel running in America than in Ethiopia?
ከአሜሪካና ከዚህ የቱ ይሻላል ነው የተለያየ ነው ወይ? አየሩ በጣም ይከብዳል። አየሩ በጣም ይከብዳል። ኢትዮጵያ ማለት ነው። ሌላስ ዳገት አለው። እንደገና ደግሞ ብቻዬን ስለሆንኩ ብዙ So he said it's a very good race. The two major difference that he saw was the course. It's a lot hilly, so like there's a lot elevation, and then the air is actually like a lot different also. So he found that to be really tough. But other than that, he really liked the race.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you ask him what inspires him to run?
ምንድነው የሚያበረታታ በጣም የሚገፋፋው እንድትሮጥ?
ያ ከልጅነት ጀምሮ መሮጥ እወዳለሁ። እንደገና ደግሞ በዚህ መቀጠል ፈልጋለሁ።
He says that since his early childhood he liked to run, so that's part of the reason he runs, because of where he was from. There is no transportation or anything like that, so he says he would like to continue to run. He likes like the running aspect of it. I guess he enjoys it. It keeps him in shape. I guess that's another benefit. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Is he gonna return? Are you gonna return?
For next year?
For next year's Ashland Marathon?
በሚቀጥለው ዓመት መሮጥ ትፈልጋለሁ ወይ? He says he will definitely run again.
That's great. Well, I mean, congratulations again for winning the Ashland Half Marathon again.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Reporting at VFW, and I'm here with Bobby Gibb. How you doing?
Hi, fine. This is a wonderful event.
It is? It's your first time in Ashland?
No, I know Ashland. I mean, that's the first town you come to after Hopkinton when you run the Boston Marathon.
Yeah. Speaking of the Boston Marathon, you are the first woman to win Boston Marathon, right?
Yes, I was the first woman to ever run the Boston Marathon, and that was in 1966. And they thought that women were not physically able to run a marathon. Right. And so I came and proved them wrong. And then I was the women's winner in 66, 67, and 68.
Wow, that's amazing. Like, that's such an honor to be, have that title, right?
Yeah, it was fun.
What was it like to jump into the race?
Well, I'll tell you, I trained for the Boston Marathon for 2 years. I first saw it in 1964. And I fell in love with it. I just started training, and I didn't know that women weren't allowed. And then I wrote for my application blank in 1966, and they wrote back a letter and said women are not physiologically able to run a marathon. They couldn't take the medical liability. Plus, it's a men's division race, and women did not qualify to run a men's division race. So I couldn't get a number. So I decided I had to run anyway to prove that a woman could do this, because I figured once they knew that women could run a marathon, it would start to open up.
Right.
And it did start to open up. And then, so I came back. I was living in California, so I took a bus back. Yeah. I hid in the bushes by the start. And when the starting gun went off, I let about half the pack go by. Then I jumped in, ran all the way to Boston, and the local reporters started to pick up the story.
Wow.
And it was being broadcast on the radio. I got to Boston ahead of 2/3 of the men. The governor of Massachusetts was there to shake my hand. and it was front page headlines. I mean, nobody thought a woman could do this.
Yeah.
And so then I came back the next year and ran, and the next year.
Wow, that's amazing.
And I wasn't really a bandit, because a bandit is someone who could have registered but didn't.
Yeah.
If I'd been a man, I would have been a bandit running without a number.
Right.
But I was running in the first women's division Boston Marathon, but it had not yet been sanctioned. It wasn't sanctioned until 1972, and that's when women could first officially run.
Hey everyone, I'm Brennan Marlowe, and I'm here with Bill Rogers. How you doing, man?
Freddie, I'm tired because it was only about 20 minutes ago I finished the first Ashland Half Marathon.
Really?
And,
wow.
you know, it takes a little while to recover, but the more you are able to train and work out, the more you get used to it. But today, the sport is changing every day, every week, every month. Just as we have this brand new race here in Ashland, the sport's growing. There's a lot of new runners, a lot of beginner runners, but also a lot of veterans too, you know.
That's great. That's great. So how many marathons have you run before?
I've run 60 marathons, and I have a marathon win on 5 continents. Wow. I think I'm the only American to have a win on 5 continents, you know.
Wow, that's great.
So I think Frank Schroeder is 4. But of course, we're here at the starting line of the Boston Marathon, the original start line in 1897 at Metcalfe's Mill, now the VFW here. And I think today runners are starting to learn more and more about the history of this sport and of the Boston Marathon and marathon as a worldwide sport. And road racing is a worldwide sport. So it's this and soccer, I think, are the 2 biggest sports in the world, really.
Yeah.
So Ashland, I think the race organizers, you know, Steve Greenberg, the media guy, Steve Flynn, and J.J. Lerner, they all work together with the town of Ashland, the police, and so forth, the VFW, to build this event for the city, you know. You build it for your city and for the community. And it's got this tie-in with the Boston Marathon that other races don't have.
Wow, that's great. So what inspires you to run, like when you run marathons or you run half marathons? What inspires you?
You know, Fred, I started way back when I was a kid, when I was 15 years old. And I ran cross country with my brother Charlie and my good friend Jason Kehoe. 3 young kids, just like a lot of the young kids here. But you can start running at any age, you know.
That's good.
But I ran cross country and track, so one of the biggest sports in the world. I ran in high school, then 4 years in college. But then I quit because I wasn't part of a team. So I thought I was done with running. So I smoked my cigarettes, you know. But I moved to Boston from the Hartford area, Connecticut. And I saw the Boston Marathon, and that motivated me to make a comeback. And I said, you know, I'm going to come back. I got to run this fantastic race.
Wow, that's good. Wow. I used to run track myself in high school.
You were a track runner too?
Yeah, I was. I ran it in sophomore year, junior year, and senior year.
What did you run?
I ran like the mile and the 2 mile.
That's what I ran too, same thing.
Really?
Yeah.
I also did field events like shot put.
Tough events.
Yeah, they are.
Very tough events because there's so much competition in this sport. I think most people think that some of the bigger sports on TV, you know, like football are bigger than running, but running is really bigger. There's more people running. I've heard that there's 500,000 high school and college runners in cross country in America.
Wow.
500,000 Americans. So this is big.
Yeah, it is.
In Ashland, the numbers were bigger than they thought today for this first half marathon in Ashland, you know. So it kind of shows you the sports. I mean, you look around the room here, and you see a lot of new runners, you know, and they're so psyched.
Right.
Because when you become a runner, you change your life.
Oh yeah,
you know,
it does.
It's really the ultimate health and fitness sport, you know.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So one last question. So you did you see all the kids running too, and you know the younger kids. Like, what do you have to say to them? Like, you know, to keep going.
2 young high school girls came up to me after the race, and they asked me how many miles I had run, and I said I think I've run about 170,000 miles in my life. But I remember when I was a young kid running cross country, I was beginning, and they weren't even tired. These 2 young girls, they're so fit. You know, so You know, a lot of people talk about the negative things going on, you know, and there's too much, people are too heavy and all this. But, you know, there's the other side of the story. And that's this side, you know, and what's going on here today in Ashland, and all the people who are walking and running and cycling and swimming. These lifetime sports. So Ashland did its part today. Great job.
Yeah, that's good.
That's great.
Well, thank you very much, Bill.
Thanks, Freddie.
Thank you very much.
We're here at the Ashland Half Marathon, the first annual, we hope.
We sort of peaked the other day online at just under 700, but we're expecting 80 to 100 more registrations today.
Designed a course that would start at this historic place in running, not just for Ashland, but for the sport of running in there.
Running the 5K, and Heather's running the full half marathon. I mean, there's Bill Rogers being introduced, one of the most famous runners of all times.
But of course, we're here at the starting line of the Boston Marathon, the original start line in 1897.
And there are